unless you want me to. There you go. Thank you, David. We'll post that in our YouTube channel afterwards for those who registered but didn't show.
All right, good. We've got some international
Yeah.
participants, which is a fun, and just lovely. And thanks for coming in.
Hi, everybody.
Wow.
Hey,
I'm Kim from New York. Hello.
Hi, Kim. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Have to get used to using this stuff.
We all have had our learning curve, so Kim, no worries.
and continue to have.
Yeah. No,
Thank you.
this is a creativity department. We're no judgment. This is a no judgment zone. So you're in a safe space, Kim.
Thank you. Yeah.
As folks come in, if you would just drop into the chat box where you're coming in from. If you switch to speaker view, if you want an up close shot of the speaker, recommend doing that, or you can leave it on gallery view if you want to see everyone. We will get started since it is 5 minutes after the hour, and we are recording this and we'll post it for those who were unable to join us. So welcome. I am Dr. Gerard Puccio. I'm a distinguished professor at the Center for Applied Imagination and department chair. Students call me Dr. P because of my last name being a bit awkward to pronounce for some of them, and the fact that I heavily rely on PowerPoint, which I think is the real reason why they call me Dr. P. So don't shake your head so vigorously.
Am I doing that?
I see you. I see you. So the purpose of this session is to share the power of creativity education and creativity training, specifically focusing in on our graduate program and how transformative it is for those who participate in it. I don't use the word transformative lightly. I use the word transformative as a contrast to a transactional education experience. In a transactional education experience, there's an exchange between the faculty and the student. You do the work, you receive a grade, and you earn your degree. That's a transactional education experience, which is fine. We like to think of our education, our unique program, which has been around for more than 50 years, coming from the visionary Alex Osborne, the cartoon character you see here, carrying the torch, the creator of brainstorming and a catalyst to the worldwide movement around creative education. His dream was to impact education, and one of the chief ways that he did that was to help launch an academic program under the direction of Sid Parnes and Ruth Noller, the original faculty members. So we've had 50 years at this. We know that this is a transformative educational experience because our students tell us that. In fact, before many of you came on, one of our alum who live in Florida, Hedre, was saying that it was one of the best experiences in her life and it changed her life. And that's not uncommon for our students to say that. So in that way, we believe our graduate experience goes beyond a transactional learning experience and truly is transformative. So here's the roadmap for our session. For those who like to know where you're going, this is the blue line, if you will, the GPS blue line that we'll be following. So again, my name is Gerard Puccio, 33 years at Buffalo State and 25 years as chair of the Center for Applied Imagination. My task is to welcome you and then to give you an overview of a study, a survey that we did for our 50th anniversary, where we reached out to our alumni to ask them to share exactly how this graduate program impacted them. So I'll highlight some of the results from that. Then I'm going to turn it over to my good colleague, Dr. Roger Firestein, who loves to say he's taught everyone on faculty. And I believe that is the case, that he has taught everyone, maybe with the exception of Melody Ozia-Proctor, our newest faculty member. But Roger has had the opportunity to influence all of us. So it's as a senior faculty member, emeritus associate professor, I'll be turning over to Dr. Firestein to highlight from his experience, many years delivering creativity training, both on campus and off campus to many organizations, the keys that he has come to understand in terms of the value of creative problem solving specifically. From there, we'll go to Dr. Susan Keller Mathers, who will moderate a panel of 3 alumni. We have many alumni who are joining us, and we would invite any of our alumni in the chat box to jump in at any point and share some of your experiences. Sue will specifically interview Laura Barberos-Witalski, Jacob Ravenborg, and Samantha Landau from their vantage points, 3 different perspectives on their takeaways. And then we'll wrap things up with some next steps, some information about our graduate program for those of you who might want to take a deeper dive into creativity training and education by formally joining our programs. So let's talk about how transformative, let's get into the details of what we mean by transformative education. So I'm going to highlight just a few responses from our alumni survey done in 2017, which was our 50th anniversary. So in response to the question, what percentage of your job includes the use of creativity tools, contrasting before they went through the graduate program and then after going through the graduate program, if you look at the shift here from before, and I'll highlight just 2 columns here, 75% of students prior to coming through the graduate program, less than 75% said they were using creativity formally at work. But then the largest percentage of agreement after going through the graduate program was that very same category, saying that over 75% of their work responsibilities or work activities included the use of creative problem solving or creativity tools, which of course is fantastic to see that shift. To the question, how often do you use creativity skills and knowledge gained from the graduate program? You can see over or close to 50% of the respondents said they always use creativity skills and knowledge gained, followed by nearly 40% who said often use what they learned in the graduate program. When asked about employment, and by the way, I will put the slides in the chat box once I'm done with my part of the presentation so that you can look at these more closely. But here we have the before and after in terms of jobs, and the shift here, the trend was to move from what was the specific job prior to the degree program to consulting and training and into education. So one of the things that we hear from students as they go through the graduate program and then certainly afterwards is that they gain the creative confidence to leave often their current positions for the dream jobs or the dream careers that they would like to have. And I think that in part is a result of the increase in creative self-efficacy and creative self-confidence. When asked, where have you used the creativity skills and knowledge gained from the graduate program? You can see all of the degree to which people agree with use of these particular skills and knowledge. Well, it's across a range of areas of life. So at work, in their professions, In addition, and I think this is unique to a creativity program, is that the skills and knowledge that you gain are not only applicable in your professional life, but of course, as J.P. Guilford said, to live is to have problems, and to solve problems creatively leads to growth. So we also see a large percentage of alumni who say they use it at home, over 80%, in relationships, nearly 70%, in the community, almost 60%. So I think one of the unique benefits of a graduate experience or formal training in deliberate creativity is that the skills that you learn very much are life skills. And I'll share a quick story around that. Of course, when we did the survey, we had some open-ended questions, and we asked our alumni to share stories about the value of this experience. And one that stood out to me was an alumnus who said that prior to going through the graduate program, we welcomed our son into the world. I went through the graduate program, and then afterwards, we welcomed our daughter into the world. And because of the graduate program, I found that I raised my daughter very differently than I had raised my son. And I wish I had had this graduate experience before my son was born. And so those are some of the touching stories that are often shared with us. All of the faculty, certainly, I'm sure, can share those kind of anecdotal stories that they've had as we've talked to former students. And again, we have alumni that are with us, and we encourage any alumnus of the program to share their stories in the chat. And then finally, in terms of, it's always nice when you see that folks are willing to recommend, stand behind their experience. So when asked, would you recommend ICSC? That's the former title of the center. It's now Center for Applied Imagination. Would you recommend the Center for Applied Imagination at Buffalo State to others? Of those who responded to that question, 100% said yes, they would recommend it to others. So I'm very proud of that fact, and this begins to highlight the reasons why I am able to say with confidence that our educational program is truly transformative, that it moves beyond a transactional educational experience. And with that, and so to dive a little more deeply, specifically into a core element of our curriculum that is specifically creative problem solving, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Dr. Roger Firestein.
Thank you, Gerard. Really appreciate that. So as Dr. Buccio mentioned, I'm Associate Professor Emeritus. I don't teach full-time anymore, but I guest lecture, and I have the honor of coming in to be parts of events like this. And so let me just tell you a story, and then I'm going to tell you some ways we've used this and applied this. And so I actually fell in love with creativity in 1977, and I was teaching guitar in Colorado. I grew up on a farm in Colorado. And I was a music major, and I thought I was going to be a band instructor. Right? And to make my way through college, I taught guitar lessons, and I found that my students were getting frustrated because so they're the beginning students just got frustrated, and I thought maybe by helping them to be just a little bit more creative, they would enjoy their music lessons more. So I started reading about creativity. And there were two names and one place that came up consistently in the literature. And those two names were Dr. Sidney J. Parnes and Dr. Ruth B. Noller, the real founders of the center, and this place called the Interdisciplinary Center for Creative Studies, right? Well, as you can see, we've changed the name a few times, right? And so I came out in 1977. I attended the Creative Problem Solving Institute. I took a course, flew back to Colorado, and my mom said that when she picked me up at the airport, all I could talk about was this stuff. I was on fire. And I knew that this was what I wanted to do. And so I moved to Buffalo in 1978. I packed up my 1973 Ford Maverick. Thank goodness it made it across the country. And so imagine a farm kid from Colorado moving to the big city of Buffalo back east. And as I was packing for the trip, I remember talking to my mom, and I said, I don't know if I'm ever going to make any money doing this, but I sure do love it. And I got my master's science degree in 1979. I believe I was the 7th person to go through. And Dr. Puccio, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have over 800 now. And so I've done this work for about 46 plus years. And I have to tell you that I love it now as much or even more as when I started. You see, what this program does, it helps you to think differently than about 99.99% of the people that are out there wandering around the world right now. So instead of obstacles, you see problems that can be solved. And you begin to ask questions like, what might be all the ways to, or how might I? And as a matter of fact, you don't even consider a problem anymore, just a gap from where you are to where you want to be. And so instead of generating 1 or 2 ideas for solving a problem, you easily and naturally come up with 30 or 40 or 50 ideas. And you know what to do when you get stuck generating ideas. You know how to get out of those ruts. And you see, you're less afraid to take risks because you've already thought through all the options before you began. So if this one doesn't work, it's this one, or this one, or this one, or this one. And I got 10 more options right here behind me that you know to make this work. Like all human beings, you're going to have problems. And sometimes problems will strike you to the very core. And trust me, I've been there. But it was a way that I was trained to think since I was 21 years old that really pulled me through those very, very difficult times. You think differently, you see the world differently, you act differently, you show up differently. My 6th book, Creating a Flash, there's a page in it. And I have it stuck up here on my library wall. And the page begins, it's a quote from Mike Wallace. And it says, if you don't wake up in the morning excited to pick up where you left your work yesterday, you haven't found your calling yet. If you don't wake up in the morning excited to pick up where you left your work yesterday, you haven't found your calling yet. And I was fortunate to find my calling at 21. So a couple of things. I'm also teaching now, I guess, lecturing at the School of Medicine here, the Jacobs School of Medicine and Biomedical Sciences at the university. And we're working with first-year residents. And so I was talking with one of the residents after one of the courses, and she took the first class, came back a couple weeks later, and we were talking about what difference she noticed. And she said something like this. She said something, I felt like my chakras opened up. It's like, okay, I got to really pay attention to that. What does that mean? All right, what are your chakras? This is incredible. She goes, I started seeing the world in a different way. She goes, I started asking these questions like, how to? And she said, all of a sudden, something just opened up in me and I'm different. And that's just as a result of a 3-hour course. So this kind of thinking, this kind of creative thinking can actually help you live longer. And my most productively creative years have been after the age of 60. And so as Gerard mentioned to you, as you got in the email, we have a little gift for you, and he's going to drop it into the chat right now. It's my first book called Why Didn't I Think of That? We reissued it a number of years ago, and I'm just delighted for you to have it. It's a little creativity fable. And in it contains about 10 tips to be deliberately more creative. I want to highlight just 4 of those. And these are the things that we've found consistently again and again and again that people use based on impact studies, based on just talking with them about how they apply their creativity. So the first one is phrase problems in a way that they can be solved. Use words like how to or how might. Instead of saying we don't have any money, how to reduce the cost, okay? How to raise the money. Just changes your thinking, opens your mind to say things in a different way. Defer judgment and generate many ideas. As I mentioned earlier, you have the skill to generate lots of ideas and you'll know what to do when you get stuck. Phrase problems in a way that they can be solved. Defer judgment, generate many ideas. Evaluate ideas positively. Look for the strengths of the idea first before you look at the concerns. List what's good about the idea before you look at the downsides. And when you look at the downsides, phrase them like a creative question. How to or how might. And then finally for you, take personal responsibility for your creativity. No one can be creative but you. You can't make anybody else be creative. The only person who can be creative is you. So phrase problems is the way they can be solved. Defer judgment, generate many ideas, evaluate ideas positively, look what's good about the idea first, and take some personal responsibility for your creativity. Oh, and enjoy the book. And I'd like to just turn this over now to my colleague, Dr. Susan Keller Mathers, and she will take it from there. So thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for attending. This will change your life. Welcome, Sue.
All right. Thanks, Gerard. And thank you to Roger. I'm Dr. Susan Keller Mathers. Most people call me Dr. Sue. I like Dr. Seuss, but I can't claim that one, or just Sue. And I want to introduce you to three of our two alumni and a current student. And so this is the participation part of our day today, because what I'm going to ask you to do is, as I introduce our three panelists, and as those panelists say a bit about themselves, I would love for you to drop questions in the chat. If it's a general question for any of them, just drop it in. If it's for one of the people that I mentioned, please put the name with it so we know, and then we'll have them participate in some Q&A. So today I have with us, first of all, Sam, just kind of go ahead and give us a wave. We have Jacob, give us another wave so they know where you're at. And we have Laura. And let me tell you a bit about those three people. So Samantha Landau is from the Western New York area. She is in our home program, and she is finishing very shortly, because this summer, taking an independent study with me. She's an early childhood educator. And so I have to applaud our classroom teachers, because that's where my heart is, and that's where I came from. And she has been working with this great vision of integrating creativity into her work as an early childhood educator. And this summer, working on reading and math and the integration of creativity. Now, Alex Osborne wanted to bring a creative trend to education, and Samantha is an excellent example of a teacher who's doing that. So thank you for being in the classroom. Really appreciate that. We have Jacob Ravenborg, and he is in Denmark, Copenhagen. And as an alumni of a few years ago, Jacob continues to be very active, and it's such a delight when we have different events and Jacob comes in. He's in the creative industries. He wanted to know more about the science of creativity, project and concept manager, design and visual master. And what delights me a lot, of course, Jacob, is your love of the literature of creativity, and especially the classics. As you see, he has all his books lined up with different colors, which I absolutely love. So thank you for your work in leadership, in design, and creativity and innovation. Laura was a graduate from more than a decade ago. And Laura is also an adjunct with us in design and teaching creative problem-solving courses. Originally from Italy, but located in Buffalo. She works for Darwin Associates. So executive coach, creative training, facilitating, and specializes in leadership development, as well as the formulation and continual PRIA conference leader in Italy. So I am thrilled that all three of you are here. As someone whose love is teaching, there's no one better to teach than our students, and no one better to interact with than our alumni. So I'm going to ask people in the audience, we're going to turn it over to Sam first to give us a couple minutes to tell us about her key takeaways, and then we'll go to Jacob, and then we'll go to Laura, and we'll open it up for questions. But if you would, in the meantime, as they're speaking, write some questions, that'd be great. All right, Sam.
Hey, yes, hi. Thank you so much for the introduction, first of all. Like she said, my name is Sam. I am a second-year kindergarten teacher at the moment, going into my third year in the fall. I'm so happy that I'm able to be here. I'm really, really excited to share my experience from this program, because I will say joining this program was one of the best decisions that I've ever made for my life and my career and just every aspect. You know, as a new teacher, I am always looking for new ways to implement creativity into my classroom. And, you know, this was the reason that I first joined the program. It was recommended to me actually by a colleague, alumni of the program, and she spoke so highly of it. So I said, you know, why not give it a try? But at first, I didn't know much about it. But I was very pleasantly surprised to discover how much this program is going to and has already impacted my career as a teacher. From, you know, the basic or even more in-depth understanding of definitions of creativity, all the way to learning how to teach for creativity and learning how my students will learn from creativity. My new knowledge is going to help me throughout the rest of my career. Something that I really, really loved about this program was that we could take our learning and our research in our own directions, which, you know, makes sense because there's a lot of people coming from different backgrounds who join this program. And from my perspective as a teacher, I focus my research on, you know, how creative teaching and learning promotes academic as well as social and emotional success among young students. I found a lot of evidence to support this throughout my entire, the past few semesters with my research. And with these new findings, with my new knowledge, I began implementing creative learning into my classroom like immediately, because I think all teachers have the same passion in common, and that's to ensure that our students are successful. And, you know, whether it's we're looking for hands-on learning, differentiated instruction, intervention plans, and, you know, whatever else we need to ensure the success of our students. This program has been great in helping me find all of those things. Throughout this program, I've also come to realize that there's a bit of a lack of understanding about creativity among teachers, among lots of people, including myself. You know, when I first started this program, I knew that creativity was important, but I never realized that it's not just important, it's essential for learning. So that was a big takeaway for me. And, you know, throughout the program, I've had the help of my colleagues and my amazing professors. I've gained, you know, the experience, the confidence, leadership skills, self-assurance. I mean, the list goes on of everything that I gained. And now, because I have all of those skills, I'm able to advocate for creativity in my classroom as well as throughout my entire school. Like I said before, as teachers, I think that it is our responsibility to ensure that our students are receiving the best possible education, to make sure they are successful not only in school, but for the rest of their lives. And I have learned that creativity is a huge part of that. So I highly, highly recommend this program to everyone, especially teachers, you know, coming from my perspective. You know, anyone who wants to learn about the best ways to ensure their students are not only learning, but start to love learning and make sure that they are successful in all aspects of their lives. So yes, highly, highly recommend.
Thanks, Sam. And also thank you for arranging your schedule, because I know it's during your school day right now. And
Yes,
it's not
yes,
always,
last day of school.
yeah, it's not easy to get that time. So, all right, thank you. And we have questions coming into the chat. So thank you. We're writing them down and we'll come back to them. And I'm going to turn it over to Jacob over in Europe.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sue, for the kind words. So I joined the program 3 years ago. I graduated last year. So I did this, you could say, mid-career. I've been working with innovation for 20 years, but I was so curious of what is this creativity thing? How did this come around? And then I found this guy, Osborne, and the inventor of creativity. And that led me to Buffalo with the breadcrumbs and to this program. And the thing I saw creativity, and there was something else about leadership, but I was not a leader. So I basically ignored that and thought, yeah, whatever, I will focus on the creativity. But I would have to say that change leadership and seeing myself as a leader for the last year, going out, leading innovation, leading others into creativity, being able to see others' forms of creativity. Because I thought, yeah, it's more or less just I'm born creative. Some are less creative, some are more. but now I see this picture of so many ways to be creative, and so many, the anxiety it creates among people if they are not comfortable in the creative situation they're put in. So I would say what this program has given me is it has opened my eyes to other people's creativity. And by that, I learned a lot about myself too. And then I would say this to be part of a academic society, a group, having this great network of people you can ask anything. I gained friends through my cohort, through my studies that I hope I will keep for the rest of my life. And that's it was not unexpected, but it was definitely a bonus. So that's yeah, that's my story.
Thanks, Jacob. And we'll have more conversations about the classics. And Jacob is really up on the literature, both contemporary and classic. So thank you so much for your colleagueship, both of you, Sam and Jacob. And Laura, who I've known the longest and who has been such a part of our community.
Hi, I'm definitely the veteran here. So thank you, Susan, and thank you. Hi, everybody. So I was born and raised in Milan, Italy, and I came to the Creative Problem Solving Institute that Dr. Firestein mentioned in 1997. So I have a kind of a parallel track to him 20 years later, right? In terms of when I found my calling, right? And when I come in 1987, I was in my mid-30s, just to do the math of how old Laura is. And then I saw the potential right away there in this conference. Creative Problem Solving Institute is a big institute in Buffalo, and I learned about this master program, and I decided to come over to the United States. I changed my life in the year 2000. I enrolled in this program, one of the best decisions of my life. As I said, I moved there, and I graduated in 2003. And I became right after an adjunct faculty of this, just to talk about the opportunities, right, that this program gives you. I have a course right now that I have taught for 20 years, and is a course in a master program about advanced tools and creative problem solving. And that is just the beginning of my journey. So that's interesting to see that how an Italian coming immigrants coming to America start being and getting really into this journey, become a adjunct faculty. And then I started, one of the greatest things that I've done is founding Crea Conference, which is the prime annual event in Europe which is where I come from originally, on creativity and innovation. And so right now we are 20 years of Crea Conference, which is an amazing thing. And we have been touching and impacting, hundreds and hundreds of people in 20 years over the world to disseminate, to spread what is creativity, what is creative thinking, what is change leadership as well there. So that is the small thing. Now, the other thing, what have I done for myself? My background, originally, when I came in my mid-30s, I wasn't unemployed. I had my own business. And my business was in qualitative market research. So that was my marketing background, and qualitative as a psychologist originally. So what I did was building. I built what I got from this program, incredible learning from this program, and I built on new skills. And so I entered into holding like a group for idea generation at the time, new product development. So really getting creative thinking into organization, strategic thinking and visionary thinking. So I built these skills on what I already had done. And I always, when I mentor people who ask me about this program, I say, you don't have to change your career. It is transformative because, in fact, you keep building on what you already have, and then you add some amazing skills over that. So what I want to mention is that in what I have become, I have really worked in the four main areas that we talk about creativity professional. And Dr. Puccio has just post in the chat an article from the Encyclopedia of Creativity that the two of us wrote in 2020, was published in 2020. So, you know, I highly recommend you to download that PDF and read what is the career of a creativity professional. So just as I was in this career, and we survey in that research 50 plus creativity professionals. So it wasn't just my own experience. You can get into training, right, of creative thinking. You can get into facilitating. You can get into coaching and executive coaching. And you can get into consulting at large, into organizational development, in transformational change, in change leadership. So there are so many incredible things that you can do. What I learned from this program, and again, I would say mostly, is the creative confidence, right? Creative confidence, you know you can do it. And when you start a journey like one start, you know that there is no limit. You can get into anything in your life. You can continue to build. And that's been my experience. And I always said, it is also about continuous learning. Dr. Farisi talked about in his 20s having the privilege of having the calling. I have it at age 40. It's possible anytime, always, and it sets you an incredible new adventure for your life.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and we have people from all ages. When I was in this program, Hedria, who's here with us now, was turning 50. So we have people of all ages and all backgrounds, which is wonderful. So we got time for just a couple questions, and I'm going to turn to Sam first. And this is really about advocating, and this is not just for education, but it's a beautiful question to Samantha, and that is whether your colleagues tend to be skeptical or supportive. And of course, that's not an either or, is it?
Yeah, definitely not. I'd say there's definitely some of both. I would say the interest is there, you know, as soon as I start kind of talking about this program or just creativity in general, they're definitely interested. I would say, but they are definitely skeptical, or I see more of either a lack of understanding of the importance of it or a lack of motivation to implement it into the school. You know, I think that's kind of where I am stepping in my school. So, you know, it's crazy the shift in mindset that I've had from the beginning of the program to now. You know, I didn't, as I mentioned before, like I didn't realize how important creativity was. And throughout this program, my mindset has shifted completely. Now, rather than just understanding it, like I am so motivated to encourage it, rather than just kind of sit back and, you know, just let people, you know, do what we've always done. But yeah, I would say that's definitely, you know, people, they don't know much about it. And so when I kind of bring it up, they'll seem interested, but kind of like push it on the back burner. But I think that, you know, people who have gone through this program, it's kind of like our job to kind of get that information out there. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I've gained, like I said, also before, I've gained, you know, understanding of creativity as well as the confidence to advocate for creativity in my school. So that's kind of where I stand in the position. I'm just trying to get people more interested, because as soon as they start learning about it, I swear it's going to be the same kind of shift in mindset. So.
And of course, it's modeling that makes the biggest difference, because when they see it, they get it. And what we love about our community, for those of you who haven't been exposed much to the community, is you find people that understand and also have ways to articulate and help others come to that. So we have one other question, and Jacob was asked about some recent research or scholars in the field, who's doing it. So I just wanted to ask you, you know, your thoughts on some of the scholars that maybe hit for you.
Yeah, I mean, going through historically to see that there is a bunch of people, let's say 20 people that had really in the 50s, 60s, and 70s really marked this area. And what you realize is they know each other. They interacted across, and so what you see, you through this program, you build up from the classics, you build up to modern day, and you see these new researchers come in. Gladys now is definitely one of the ones that I enjoy very much. Fairly young professor in Ireland, I believe, in Dublin, right? And he's doing. He has a cultural perspective on creativity. It looks across the world, look across different cultures, because we might think, oh yeah, creativity, we know what it is, but we are all placed in a culture, and to have a cultural perspective that really open up my eyes to creativity can be so many other things and can be handled very differently. So he's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, Glevino is
Beside, of course, the faculty
all the
here.
guys.
Yeah, you know that.
All right, we're going to end with just a quick note. Laura, we talked a bit about impact studies. You know, we have a host of impact studies. You've done impact. So I just wanted to end kind of morphing from one of the questions that was there. And that is, what do you find to be the greatest impact when you work with people as a trainer and a leader and a teacher? What do you see as the greatest impact?
The greatest impact is so interesting. I don't have any hesitation about this answer. That is the greatest impact. No, which is a good sign, right? There are many impacts, but the greatest is opening their mindset, opening their mind. When people open their mind, this was the greatest impact on me. It is about the way you see things, the way you think, the way a problem becomes an opportunity, the way things can become manageable, as Dr. Ferenczi was saying. There are gaps. There are not anymore anything that is overwhelming you, right, in your life. So when you start seeing possibilities, that is, and when you start being flexible, when you start seeing there are options, that we have options, then this impact your well-being also. Then will impact your life. And that is, for example, my last area of interest. I really love the idea of how creativity and creative thinking is connected to our well-being and how improve our life at large, not just on the professional, which is certainly there, but your relationship, how you apply that. So it is all in our mindset, in our way we think things.
Thank you. And I'm glad you mentioned well-being, because there's a lot more research coming out in well-being right now. So thank you, panelists. Really appreciate you coming in. And I'm going to turn it back to my colleague, Dr. Puccio.
Thank you, Dr. Keller-Mathers. We are rarely so formal with each other, but somehow when we go into these virtual presentations, suddenly it's Dr. Firestein, it's Dr. Keller-Mathers, it's Dr. Yates. Oh my gosh, I am so impressed with all of you and what you have shared, including some of the things that have been shared in the chat box as well. You can hear the energy, you can feel the energy. I hope this is a transformative educational experience. I want to highlight two things that were inspirational to me from listening to our panelists. As I reflect on the impact of our graduate program, and you heard Laura refer to how valuable this kind of training is for one's well-being, and I would broaden that to self-actualization. It reminded me of an undergraduate student who had this brilliant response to a question that I posed to my class to reflect on. So they kept a journal. I would pose questions at the end of each class and then ask them to reflect on it and write in a journal and then share their journals with me. And the question that was asked early on in the semester was the question, why do you think it's important to study creativity? And this one young man wrote, it was short, but so eloquent. He wrote that I think it's important to study creativity because when you study creativity, you study yourself. You study yourself. And this is a subject that is not outside of us. As you heard Dr. Firestein said, creative expression starts with us. And so the locus of control is you, the individual. And so one of the things that I think is powerful about this graduate program, if I were to put a bow around it, from what I heard the panelists share, and again, alumni who've dropped comments into the chat box. It is very much about helping to self-actualize yourself. And then to the other point of inspiration came from a comment from everyone, but specifically a comment that Sam made in response to the question that Dr. Keller-Mathers posed in response to a question in the chat box, being an advocate for creativity. And Sam, you made me so proud in terms of your response and thinking about how to share this with others. And this is a program in creativity and change leadership. It's a credential in creativity and change leadership. It's a master's of science degree in creativity and change leadership. And hopefully one day there will be a doctorate in creativity and change leadership. And so we invite our students to become change leaders in their organizations, in their professional arena. You heard Jacob make reference to this. In their communities, in their families, everywhere they go. Leadership is about influence. And we hope that as a result of our graduate program, that we raise the creativity skill level and the creative confidence to go out and be a force for positive change in the world. And we have a mission, we like to say, to ignite creativity around the world, helping others to recognize that creative thinking is a life skill. We're a small team of faculty, 4 full-time faculty, about 20 faculty in total with our very dedicated adjuncts. However, as Dr. Firestein pointed out, we have 800 alumni who are really part of our community who are helping to advance our mission. So as we start to wrap up, let's talk about potential next steps. Where might you go? This is an invitation. We love the work that we do. You heard each faculty member make reference to the fact that not only are we faculty, but we are former students. And we are so dedicated to this field because of the experience that we all had. And so we invite others to join us in a world where information is ubiquitous. I would argue there's still a place for a curriculum curated by experts. And so I invite you all to consider how you might participate in our curriculum. So a number of ways you ask, well, how might I do that? Well, we have micro-credentials. Those are short educational experiences. We have a micro-credential in applied creativity, shorthand title for that micro-credential, which is 2 courses in deliberate creativity, focusing on creative problem solving. You heard Dr. Firestein highlight the value that one can get from developing skills as a creative problem solver. We have another micro-credential in creative education. That's 4 courses. So you lean more towards how do I train and teach others creativity, this micro-credential would be one that you might be interested in. I put into the chat box earlier my slides so that you don't have to scramble to get a screenshot of this, but certainly welcome to. There's the link to learn more about those 2 micro-credentials. If you want a deeper, broader experience, there's the Advanced State University of New York Graduate Certificate Program. This is a graduate certificate program endorsed by and awarded by the State University of New York, largest public university system in the US. There's a screenshot of our homepage and our website, along with the URL and the icons that will take you to whatever information you might be specifically interested in. And of course, there's the Master of Science degree in Creativity and Change Leadership, which is a sequence of 11 courses. We filled our, we have a cohort model for our distance program. And since you all are coming in virtually, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that some of you might be interested in our distance graduate program. We filled pretty quickly our cohort for this summer. We filled it to capacity. and had to close that summer cohort down. The next time we enroll a summer cohort in our distance program will be summer of 2025. And here you see the first sequence of courses during the first year that concludes in the SUNY Graduate Certificate in Creativity and Change Leadership. You will also, or I should note for you in this table, that students after their first 2 courses can earn the micro-credential in applied creativity. So it's baked into the graduate certificate, those 2 courses, specifically Principles in Creative Problem Solving and the Small Group Facilitation course are the 2 courses in our micro-credential. For the first time ever, we are opening up seats in our distance program starting in the fall. We had such a strong interest in our distance program starting this summer. We decided to open up a few seats, half a dozen seats starting in the fall 2024. And if you grab a screenshot of this or you download the PowerPoint, you'll have this course roadmap, if you will, for those who might be interested in joining us in the fall. This has a nice pace to it, with the first course happening early semester in the fall, then a break, and then a second course stretched over the spring semester in 2025, continuing into the fall with a course late semester teaching and training creativity, followed by 2 courses in the spring of 2026, and then concluding summer 2026 with the creativity and leadership course. And that's the graduate certificate over that period of time. And of course, after the first 2 courses in the sequence, you can earn the micro-credential in applied creative thinking. So we're going to wrap up in just a few minutes. I will stay on for anyone who has questions. So anyone who would like to look more deeply into the program, or you have general questions about the field of creativity, I'll stay on. Some of my colleagues may stay on as well. We encourage you to stay connected to us. I would suggest that joining our Facebook page, following us in Facebook is one of the best ways, because all of our virtual sessions are announced in our Facebook page. Other events, as well as news coming out of the department, is announced in the Facebook page. If you go to that URL, creativity@buffalostate.edu, scroll down to the bottom, you'll find the Facebook icon that will take you to our Facebook page. If you want to communicate with us directly, if you're specifically interested in the distance program, I encourage you to reach out to Dr. Jo Udis, our distance program coordinator. And you can see her email there. And of course, if you have other kinds of questions, I'm happy to engage in communication with you as well. And so that brings us to the end of our virtual session on the transformative power of creativity, education, and training. I want to thank our panelists, especially, for joining us. Thank you for sharing your expertise. The alumni who joined our audience, thank you for being active members of this special community. And of course, to my colleagues, thank you so much for your collaboration and teamwork. We will formally conclude here. However, I will stick around, and I invite other faculty, if they wish to stick around as well. Thank you all for joining us. The recording of this session will be posted in our YouTube and will be announced through our social media. And that brings us to a formal close. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Again, I'll stick around for anyone who has any questions.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, alumni.
Thanks, everybody. Yes, thanks, alumni. Thanks, friends.
Thank you.